And welcome. Oh, Jesus. All right. Timing was off. And welcome back to TLDR. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. Riding with me. I'm all over the place. With me, as always, is my hunk in crime. Together, we are the Woodward Bernstein of the DSG. And I'll tell you what, Nicholas, there's no chance you will find little Leia on this show ever because she stinks.
So I haven't watched Kenobi yet. I haven't watched either of the first two episodes yet. But I do know that everybody is upset about the child acting. I thought I'd seen that it was a young Leia. I have heard, but see, that's the thing is, I've seen you're upset. I've seen Dorks upset. I've seen Max upset, but I've also seen quite a bit of pushback from like people who listen to any of our shows. So, like, what's the deal here?
So
Spoiler free, please.
Spoiler free. So I enjoy the first episodes very much. I think it's like I think Davey said this last night. Sort of like with WandaVision, they kind of give you the first two episodes right out of the chute because maybe they're not the strongest, but they're table setters, and then boom, you get it right. So I thought it was really good. Was it action packed? It was a little bit slower, but that's fine. Like they're just I think laying the groundwork there, but little Leia, like there is this incessant need to take children actors and make them not just sassy, but to act and give them dialogue that is like 10 years beyond where they should be. She's portraying a 10-year-old character. And they did the same thing with Jake Lloyd and Anakin Skywalker. Just like the writing is brutal. And they just are extraordinarily unlikable. Like it's a 10-year-old kid. Write for a 10-year-old kid. Don't be like, oh well, Princess Leia goes on to become this, powerful, smart, sarcastic person down the road. A person grows into that. They're just not that. Like who you are at 10 is not who you are at 18, 20, right? But they write them as if they were that already, and it's obnoxious and it's brutal. And anytime she was like on the screen, I wanted to just fast forward it. Like it was just brutal. It was like, ugh, I can't watch this.
Well, I do understand child actors getting in the way. I do understand that.
Yeah, it's just and some child actors are great. I mean, we saw it with Laura in X-23, right? Fantastic, right? Like it's all about the writing. In Star Wars, sometimes they can't get out of their own way, right? George Lucas can't get out of his own way. Kathleen Kennedy sometimes can't get out of her own. They can't get out of their own way. Like the writing was tough for this particular character. I did find it interesting with Ben and where he is now, and they do a great thing at the beginning where they sort of do this little video package of showing like all the stuff from the previous movies that led up to this point between, like sort of like highlights of Ben from episodes, 1, 2, and 3, and Vader from 1, 2, 3, and Rogue One. So I think it was fine. I mean, I can only imagine where they go from here. It's just going to be an absolute rocket ship. But man, you'll know it. You'll see it. Like it was tough, and not.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to agree with you guys because there are definitely people who disagree with you guys who are not as bothered by it. I do have times where
it's
child
tough.
actors bother me. I mean, we talk about Carl from The Walking Dead. Like he was definitely very annoying when he was younger. But at the same time, is that the writing? And in this case, obviously, it sounds like it's the writing that's bothering you. So, well,
if you disagree with me, Nicholas, we're gonna have a real problem here.
You'll get over it. I think. I know I will.
Maybe.
But I'm actually, why am I surprised that people are so divided on Star Wars? Anyways, we're talking all about Star Wars and stuff. We will get into some more Star Wars stuff as relates to comics, looking ahead to this month and what's coming out. But before we get to that, I want to remind everybody, if you're just coming across our show on Twitter, Doc's Twitch, YouTube, wherever it is, you can go and listen to the show in full audio form and subscribe to the show on Apple, on Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts, Geeks Worldwide Radios, SoundCloud, a whole bunch of different places. Wherever you listen to them, you can find us there. And if you're looking for us and you can't find us on a certain platform, let us know. We maybe haven't heard of that platform, but we'll make sure we get over there for you. And of course, we have our YouTube page. You can subscribe to us there. If you leave ratings and reviews too, that would be very much appreciated. As Joe would always say, 5 stars. He doesn't want any of those 1-star things, apparently.
Yeah,
so
come on, 5 stars, baby.
But anyways, it is time to get to catching up before we look at what's new. What have you been catching up on, Joe?
Well, caught up on a lot because, as you'll find out in a few moments here, not a ton, this first week of June that's coming out. But I caught up on a bunch of books I've been dying to catch up on. So Bolero number 5, absolutely tremendous. I believe that was the end, conclusion to that story. Wolverine 21, tremendous.
Very good. Yep.
Get on it, people. Killer Affairs of the State number 4, again, continues to be a very solid story. Step by Bloody Step number 4, that was the conclusion to that story. I mean, man, what a roller coaster.
That was really well done. Yeah, we talked about that last week because originally it was supposed to come out, and of course we got the advanced review copies. I guess there was a printing press issue. These things happen all the time. I think it happened with the Scorched at some point too. But Step by Bloody Step is a really, really interesting experience, and I think obviously I'm not a parent yet, but you are. I would imagine that was seeing the way everything went all the way to the end. It was very interesting for you.
Yeah, that was an emotional roller coaster and a visual roller coaster for sure. Just a real tour de force there. Caught up on Devil's Reign Omega, which I thought was just a nice solid end cap to what we've gotten, but also a nice little springboard forward for where things are going here, right? MCU, right? Take note. This is how it's done, right? We move things forward. Punisher number 3. Oh man, tremendous.
Yeah, it was
tremendous.
Yep.
I caught up on The Last Book You'll Ever Read number 7. So I know issue 8 came out last week, so I've got to catch up on that. I thought I was one book farther than I was, and I was one book behind than I was. So I know, right? And then Saga 59. And I got to say, I've been enjoying it since it's come back, but this issue just felt like this was the definition of filler issue.
Yeah, and that was one of the books that I caught up on. Of course, we don't get review copies for Saga. I don't think they hand those out to anybody at this point. But yeah, I thought it was fine. It was just, of all the issues since the return, it was just okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
So we'll see where it goes from here. But I feel like the story is kind of stalling a little bit, so I can't wait to see where they're taking it, because we got a little bit of some action going on, but so we'll see where issue 60 takes us. But the last 2 books I just want to mention here that I caught up on, one was Stillwater 13, Chip Zdarsky, fantastic return, absolute fantastic return to the series. But Rogue Sun, issue 4, like the way he sets it up at the end of the 3rd issue, it's like, okay, this is what I'm expecting to get. And then what you get with the older sister is like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's not the direction I thought this was going in, but what?
That
what
ending, right?
Here. Yeah.
Yes.
What is this?
Yep.
Okay.
Rogue Sun is
okay.
Rogue Sun. I think I can say pretty comfortably, even though Image is putting out a ton of great stuff. I think Rogue Sun is a top 5 Image book, and to say that the 5 best books in comics right now are at Image probably isn't. I'd have to think about that a little more, but I don't think that's too far fetched. But I Rogue Sun's one of my favorite books right now over there. Parrot and Abel is an amazing pairing.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's a fun read. It's everything we want. When you think of Image Comics, it sort of fits in the definition of what you'd expect.
Yeah, it's must read stuff. Of course, we talked to Ryan Parrott on the show right before Rogue Sun started, so make sure you go listen to that if you haven't already, and get on board with this. The trade, I'm assuming, is going to come out after issue 6, but get the trade and then get on the single issues, because we talked about that at length with Sean Lewis. We had him on last week about the importance of supporting indie books. This Rogue Sun is awesome stuff. And Radiant Black's great too. We're still enjoying that, and we're going to be getting some more of that in this upcoming month. For me, catching up with Saga, so I'm not you look at this first arc, and this is the first time where I was like, okay, that was an okay issue. That was fine for Saga. Otherwise, I've really enjoyed it pretty much because all the developments that we've been getting have been very interesting. Every time they show Marco's friggin' skull, I'm always a little triggered, because it's
you must have been real triggered after you read this one.
Yep. Yeah, that was something else. That one development, but other than that, it was such honestly, I'm glad I don't have to keep seeing it anymore. So, like,
Yeah.
but other than that, yeah, it was just it was fine. Gunslinger Spawn issue 8 kind of takes us up to where we are with the character and the Scorch, which was really helpful. Really enjoy. Obviously, like Brett Booth's art is outstanding, and one of my favorite characters in terms of their look. So really loving
Between
that.
Fernandez and Brett Booth, I mean, they're killing it, right?
Yeah, so it is. They're awesome. And loving the sort of stuff we're getting in Scorched as well. We get some more of that this week. Last book you ever read, issue 8. Like it was like all around. I thought that the series ended up being good. I feel like we're left on a note where it's like it could. I think you said that Cullen had tweeted out or said in his newsletter
He has
that
plans on revisiting the character. Yeah,
that there's a lot of room to revisit this. Like I think it was pretty. It feels more like if they don't revisit it, I'll be more surprised. I think is how I feel about it at this point. Good Boy, Volume 2, Issue 1. Of course, our guy Sheldon Buchert is doing some variant covers for this series, and really been enjoying everything with this. More of the same in Issue 1, so definitely go and check that one out. Immortal X-Men Issue 2, that's written by Kieran Gillen. I loved the first issue of this. I thought the second issue was good. It wasn't as Mr. Sinister centric. It was more focused on Hope Summers, which fine, cool. It was still good. But I want more of Gillen in Sinister, please. And then we got Batman Beyond the White Knight issue 3. I know you were raving about this book last week. It was your second favorite book, if I remember correctly, from last week. And I thought it was good. Like I didn't think it was like it was good. Like it wasn't up there for me on that level, but I still enjoyed it. Then we got Deathstroke Inc. issue 9, which we'll be talking about that whole Shadow War event in a little bit. And then Philadelphia issue 22, which was friggin' awesome. I mean, Rodney's kicking ass, and I do believe Nina Haw's Nightmare blog is in collected trade form now.
Yes, it is.
So go make sure you guys go check that out. That I love that series. The first like 3 issues, I was like, I like this more than Philadelphia, and then Philadelphia like cranked it up like 15 notches. But they're like on even playing field in my mind right now. They're both awesome stuff. So if you like Philadelphia, go check it out. If you've heard all the hype about Philadelphia and haven't checked that out, go check out Nita Hawes. Like both of them are great. You're really going to enjoy them, especially if you're into horror or vampires. But it is time for us to get into what's new in comics this week, Joe. Of course, to kick off our solicit too. So we're talking about the books coming out on Wednesday. Why don't you take us through Marvel from this week?
All right, so we've got a bunch here. We have Miles Morales Spider-Man 38. We have Darth Vader 23. We have Strange number 3, Alien number 12, Carnage number 3, Captain Marvel 38, Knights of X number 2, Star Wars Bounty Hummers.
Wow. Okay. It's that kind of show today. All right.
Yep. Mark that 1251.
Cool. All right.
Bounty Hunters 23, Black Panther number 6, Avengers Forever number 6, X-Men 92, House of XC2 number 2, Deadpool Bad Blood number 2, and my buddy's been reading this. He's been saying that King Conan number 5. He said the King Conan series has been fantastic. So issue 5 comes out this week. But the book we both read from Marvel this week that we want to touch upon real quick is Ghost Rider number 3 by a friend of the podcast, Benjamin Percy. And this was, I feel like issue 2 like really cranked it up a notch. Mm-hmm. And then issue 3, this was a little bit more along the lines of what we got in issue 1, but fantastic stuff here. And Ghost Rider, he's about to come out in full force, I think.
Yeah, and so Corey Smith was the artist on this series, and I think he's still involved in some capacity. I do question though how much though, because we see Brent Peoples in on this issue, and I think if you look at League of Comic Geeks, which is where Joe and I look at, I know some people use Previews World, we see that like someone else is coming in for the 6th issue of Ghost Rider, and then for the like anniversary issue that Ben Percy's doing, he's got a different artist than Corey Smith. So I think that kind of explains why we've had this pause in the action, because there was a pretty significant gap between issue 2 and this week's issue. But yeah, I like this when I was looking at what's coming out, like, all right, it's time to catch up on this. And there's a lot of Johnny Blaze kind of examining himself and using the setting to kind of talk about this character. But what was really awesome was the imagery that we get throughout all of this. And I think that's one of been one of the greatest strengths of Ghost Rider so far. So I hope Corey Smith is involved in most of the rest of these issues. As much as Percy's art Percy's writing has been playing a big part in the success of this series. But like what we see with Ghost Rider in this issue, and and just how he kind of comes to surface, and then how he kind of impacts other things around him without trying to get too spoilery. Just we get the combination of both metal and then that horror vibe that Ben has talked about too. Like that has been a consistent theme throughout all of this, where we're like Ghost Rider, yes, you should have metal elements to it, but it should feel like kind of scary, kind of fucked up when I'm looking at some of this stuff. And we get quite a bit of that in this issue as well. So while I do agree with you that like things kind of shifted in a certain direction with issue 2, and it was cranked up maybe a little bit more with like the grossness and some of the action. This did have less action, but the action that we got was still exactly the kind of stuff that we want. Ghost Rider.
Yeah, it's been great storytelling, and I want the horror vibes more than anything else. So and you get that with his writing, and you get that oddly enough with the lettering. I don't know who the letterer is off the top of my head, but he does a really great job with with the thought bubbles and with the text. It adds to the overall vibe of this book. So Ghost Rider's been tremendous.
And look, I agree with you on the horror. Like that is what's made this book so awesome. Because I do think that because that's where Ben's writing especially is coming through and everything like that. But there is a certain image that is more on the metal side of things. We can't talk about without spoiling necessarily, so I'm not going to go into detail on it. But it's just it takes over. Like they end up doing like a spread with this certain image, and it's just this whole thing across the 2 pages. It's just so badass. I absolutely love it. So some awesome stuff there. We move forward to DC. Of course, we got a couple annuals this week. We got Batman 2022 annual, Action Comics annual, Nice House on the Lake issue 9. We got the first issue of Justice League Road to Dark Crisis. This might be just a one-off too. I tried looking at this, but then some of the art I was just like, I don't know. And it's a lot of like team ups and different things like that. I know they got some stuff going on with Road to Dark Crisis. There's like a couple things that'll come up throughout the rest of the solicit. We also got Batman Beyond the White Knight Showcase Edition. This collects the first 2 issues of this series. You got an issue with it? You're on mute, bro. This is your first show? Jeez.
I know, right? What the fuck are we doing here, DC? Right, with this 2-issue, the 3-issue compendium for Zdarsky's Batman. We had a 2-issue showcase edition. What the fuck? What are you doing?
So you don't like that?
No, I'm trying to figure out like what are they fucking trying to accomplish?
I think it's smart.
This book's only 3 issues in. So now you're gonna sell a 2-issue showcase edition?
I think 2 issues is too much. I think if you're doing 3, I think that especially for like a series like this, I don't think that's the worst idea, because that's a quick and easy way to get people to jump in and stuff like that. I think they're onto something. I don't think they've figured it out yet, but I think that they're onto something.
Whatever happened to just here's a second print, third print. If it's doing that well, right? If it's doing that well, you send it to second print and you print it out and you put it back on the shelves.
That's a fair point.
It's probably going to cost them more money to put these 2 things together, make a bigger, thicker book. They'll charge you more money for it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why not just okay? Hey, book 1 fucking sold out. It's a fantastic series. Boom, second printing, issue 1. Here it goes. People buy. Guess what's still probably on the shelves? Issue 2, issue 3. Right?
Like, you might be right. I mean that's fair.
It just sounds dumb. Like what are we fucking doing here? Every series now we're gonna put on a special volume every 2 issues now. You can't wait till 6 to put out the fucking trade.
I see, but I think you raise a point in like why aren't they doing the reprints or the second printing? But they're not just doing this for no reason though. Like something tells me like it's not an issue for us. Like that's kind of why I'm open to it. It's an issue for people who were late to jump in on it or hesitant to jump in on it. So I don't know. I don't think it's a bad idea. Like two issues.
I think it's wildly dumb.
With a 6-issue thing, 2 issues seems like a bit of a reach. Do 3 issues like you did with the Batmans, or they only did it with. Did they do it with Zdarsky stuff, or they only do it with Tom Taylor's? Because I know they did it with Tom Taylor.
It was Zdarsky's.
They did it with the Knight. Okay,
the Knight, yeah.
Because I know they did it with the Dark Knights of Steel. So I know they did it there too, which I like that idea. I thought it was great for that one. That one made perfect sense. With the Zdarsky one was a little bit like, I was like, okay, it's 12 issues too. That does make sense. This one, 2 issues is a bit surprising. But anyways, there was a one other thing I want to talk about, but actually we touched on Nice House on the Lake issue 9. I mentioned it. Did you have anything you wanted to add about it?
Yeah, I just did. This book is like, it's a wild conundrum for me, because it's like one issue I love it, next issue what are we fucking doing here? Next issue I love it, right? And so like this issue was mostly like, what the fuck are we doing here? And
Really?
then like but then the end, right? There's a couple of things that happen towards the back half of this book. You're like, all right, but like it's there's time to wrap it up. Right?
Yeah,
like,
because it's only 12 issues, right?
yeah, so it's like it's kind of been like the same stuff, like, and then we get a couple of flashes in this book here, like like when it came off hiatus, that book was awesome because I didn't like the book that sent it on hiatus, and when it came back from hiatus, I loved it. And the issue after that, I was like, well, what are we fucking doing here? And it's like, okay, this is great again. And this issue was mostly meh, and then it's like, oh, okay, all right, can we get there now? It's time. Let's get there now. So like. It's like there. I just feel like this being a 12-issue series, probably like 8. I bet 8 would have been the real sweet spot for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And this is like the closest thing to like creator owned that DC has done since like Vertigo stuff, right? Other than like even Black Label kind of pushes.
Well, I think it is continue. I think it is Black Label, is it not?
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but like, I'm sorry. Like Black Label with like Batman and stuff like that. You are right; it is Black Label, but like just it's its own original story.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So it's interesting that they're the tie-ins run into these things. But we've been saying this for a while. Like I know you don't like want to go and question too much the tie-ins specifically when you're talking about the frustrations that you've had. But I've noticed like it's apparent to me like how you've had like a roller coaster ride with him over the past year or so, and I think just all the stuff that he's kind of gone through with the what is it, the Substack stuff. I know he's bounced back strong in a lot of ways for you, but I feel like that like lull that you had with a lot of his stuff, it's probably like, well, it kind of coincides with some of the other things that he's been doing, so probably ran into some issues
because it just felt like a lot of the stuff that he was already doing kind of fell to the way, like took a back seat to some of this other stuff, and it happens, right? He's still on my Mount Rushmore of writers. But like Joker, like I think Joker's just got one issue left, and which has been great. And this is like, it's just been a bit of a roller coaster. I feel like this is something that just needed to be tightened up a little bit. I felt like that with Department of Truth too. There was that one arc where I felt like it got a little much, right? It was like it got really, 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 really wordy. It's like, where are we going with this? So, but I'm excited to see how it ends. Like I can kind of see where it's going, but like I feel like 12 issues might have been a little too much for this.
Okay, I mean, and that's so. This is one I do plan on reading at some point, just because of how you've talked about it and everything. But when we are going to talk about another tie-in book in a short bit, but there is one more DC book that I did want to touch on. So we've talked about Shadow War quite a bit. You've explained your displeasure that you've had because, of course, it's crossing over into your Robin book, which you've really enjoyed and everything.
Crossing over and everything. I've had to read You got to read 4 different books.
That's right. You read Batman too, but yes, you do. But the only difference for you is reading Deathstroke Inc. because you do read Batman as well. But for me, it's the inverse, where I don't read the other two. Although I am going to be reading Batman once Chip hops on. But I had enjoyed Shadow War up until the second to last thing. So that would have been Robin. And I was like, oh, like we get this big reveal of who the villain is, who's been behind it the whole time. And then it's like, who? I'm sorry, what? And like, I'm cool with bringing in characters who we don't necessarily know all that well. That you can definitely do that and it can work. But I'm like, okay, like make it cool for me when we read this next thing. And Shadow War Omega is what brings it all to an end. And I'll tell you what, like I reviewed this for Geeks Worldwide. I think I gave it like, by my math at the end, I think it came out to like a 6.67. out of 10 or 6.7, however you look at it.
Fell real flat for you, huh?
Yeah, the art's solid. Like I gave the art an 8. Like it's fine. Like it's not like this crazy thing that like blows me away and I'm like, holy shit, it's awesome. It's solid. But man, the story of it's in and of itself, and it's just like this feels like I've seen this a million times before. That's the motivation. That's why we're here right now. And then like just the dialogue too, and some of it's just like I get it. You have things that pop up. Look, their kids might have read this event and then they were fine with it, like because it was really cool for a while until like the end. And I don't care too much. You know, like with me, when it comes to ending, like I don't need this like, oh, I didn't see that coming ending. Like I need it to be solid and well written and like some cool action, whatever. Like that's fine. But with this, it was just like, okay, you've made it so much about this other force that's an unknown. You're going to tell us who it is, and they do, but you need to make it somebody like I'm going to kind of be interested by their involvement. And it just wasn't that. It was very important. And that was important throughout the course of this story. So, I don't like the stuff that happens with Deathstroke in the second to last issue was really interesting. The epilogue in Shadow War Omega was great. Like that, I'm very excited about. What's going to come out of this whole event for sure. But like in the end, like it was fine. Like, and it started off pretty damn strong. So I'm disappointed with how this all kind of wrapped up in the end.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I'm glad I didn't invest too much into it, and I'm mildly mad that it disrupted some of my favorite books. But it is what it is, Nicholas. We move on to Image. So we have Little Monsters number 4. Excellent. The Scorched number 6, which I haven't had a chance to read yet.
Good.
For some reason, our review copies, at least on my devices, it takes forever to load.
Scorched, you mean?
Scorched, Spawn, King Spawn, all of it takes like
all the Spawn books do. Yep.
What's the furthest place from here? Number 6. This is one I think we both read the first issue, and then we were just like,
fell off.
It seems wildly popular. People seem to like it.
Okay. I was higher on it coming out of that first issue, I think, than you were. And that first issue was like a super loaded one.
It was a slog, man. It was big.
Maybe I'll take another look at it and maybe go back to that first issue and dive in. Unless are you itching to?
No, not one bit.
All right, I'll try to make some time for it then.
So it looks like we talked about Step by Bloody Step. We read it last week, but it comes out this week. But there's a book here, Nick. Before we dive into the number ones that I absolutely have to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Have you read this one yet? Have you read Righteous Thirst for Vengeance number 8?
Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. I thought you were talking about Loaded Bible, Blood of My Blood, issue 4. No.
Yeah, because that's right. That's right up my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I read that first issue and I was like, no.
But have you read A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance number 8 yet?
Oh, I did, and it was friggin' awesome.
So let me tell you something. So this series, right? Like, I remember when we first read it, we've talked about this time and time again. It's like it's very little dialogue. We're both like, this is very intriguing, but we have no idea where it's going. Rick Remender generally is not going to let you down, right? And as we go through this book, it's just you start to learn a little bit more. You start to learn a bit more. We've had some panels and some scenes where the action's gotten a little violent, little grotesque at points. But this issue, Nicholas, I had a very difficult time getting through this book just because the art, man, like, and some of the panels there was just, it was flat out, like they didn't hold back.
No,
the most gruesome. There was some of the most gruesome torture scenes I've ever seen, period, especially in a comic book, and I got squeamish. I legit got squeamish, and the way this issue ended, I was like, I want the next one now, right?
Yeah,
right. So just this series for me came out of fucking nowhere, man, and you have to be careful who you recommend it to, but like I wouldn't think twice about recommending it.
So the artist on this is Andre Lima Arujo, and the colorist on this is Chris O'Halloran, and I couldn't agree with you more. Like they do some pretty crazy shit in this issue. I mean, and what's so impressive is that like they just in the whole issue, it's pretty much just covering the span of like one scene. Yeah, that's it. But so much happens in the course of it. And yeah, like you said, it does get very gross. This isn't for Like if you have issues with seeing blood, like don't read this.
Yeah.
You can't. You don't like. I'm sorry, but it's just there's no two ways about it. But if you are somebody who appreciates a lot of action, you have no problem dealing with violence. Absolutely must read stuff. No questions asked. Like if the whole reason, obviously, we've been reading this from the start, so we're not going to do this as a TLDR book. That's not how this show goes. But it would absolutely be a TLDR worthy book. And for anybody who's new to indies, like this is definitely
this is a quintessential indie book.
Yeah, quick and easy way to hop in on this because it moves so fast that you're just gonna you're gonna like when I can't imagine like we talk about like blowing through things and like a trade and everything and stuff that's just not like you can't put it down and you just read it in one sitting. This like you can read this in like under an hour, like the whole first trade, I would think.
100%. These first 8 issues you could read in an hour because the first 3 books is not a lot of dialogue. It's just all you're following the story along, and then but even then, when the dialogue does pick up, it never feels bogged down with dialogue or narration. It's just really good storytelling and really vicious art. And this is like I said, it's a quintessential indie book. And you read the whole series very quickly and be like, fuck, man, that was intense, but so fucking awesome.
And like we talk about the like good questions being posed throughout the course of a story too. Like that's like a very important thing for me as I'm reading. It's like, okay, what are the questions that I'm asking in like, in terms of the plot and stuff like it. And honestly, if I'm not asking myself questions about like what, like the structure of the story or maybe the art or things like that, then I'm usually going to be in a good spot. But with this, like it's so confusing out the jump. You have no clue what's going on, but it's so fast that like you can't even like, you don't even like, you just don't know where to begin necessarily, but it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is different. So it's just for a lot of different reasons. A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance is a must-read comic right now. And seriously, like don't wait again on, this is an Image book. So this is creator owned. Don't wait for this to come out in trade form for the second volume. Like go read the first volume, get the rest of the issues. You're going to, and if you think your pull list is too jammed, this is one book that you like of any book. This is one book that you can absolutely fit on your pull list because it's just so quick the way you read it.
Do we know how long this is supposed to run for?
I don't know. I mean, and like
the way the story's going, you feel like it's going to be wrapping up soon, but
you would think, but at the same time, they tell stuff so quickly that it's just, or they can talk about so little in the story, but also do it at such a rapid pace that they can kind of go on for another for a while. Like I don't know, so I don't know, but I would like to see it. Like I think it would be good for it to wrap up soon, just based on based on the events of this issue. As much as it was just kind of one thing, it does make sense for this to kind of come to a close, and we need to have a serious development for that to change.
Oh, definitely.
So for the first issues, as you kind of hinted at before, we got the Phalanx issue 1, and we got a writer-artist on this, Jonathan Luna. I will be giving this one a look just because I'm big on like checking out stuff done by writer-artists because I think that is a significant challenge. So, and then you have like one creator mind working on this, so I'm interested in that.
Well, what I was gonna say is that these next 2 of these 3 books that are coming out from Image seems like they're old, like original Image titles that they're reprinting, they're redoing, they're re-releasing. No. There's a lot of that going on with Image this month, where they're re-releasing a lot of their original stuff. So with the Phalanx here, I think what we're getting
you're right.
Sort of an updated version of that original.
I remember seeing this and seeing the lettering on this very vividly. And when I saw the name, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Why did I not look at this? Like, it seemed familiar. And now I'm looking at the synopsis. Yeah, this came out in 92. This is not a new thing. So I still am going to give a look at it because this is some throwback shit. But aside from me sounding like a jackass, this is not new. Super Freaks issue 1, which is celebrating 10 years of Savage Fincast podcast with an official fan tribute to every fan favorite Finhead. This is like
it's Savage Dragon written by the fans.
Okay.
Savage Dragon was one of those original Image books, right?
We're not Savage Dragon guys, so I've thought about giving that a look someday. Maybe someday I will, but it's just so much good stuff out there. Speaking of good stuff out there, from James Tynan and Gavin Fullerton, we got The Closet issue 1 from Image Comics. Why don't you guys with a synopsis real quick?
Tom is moving cross country with his family and dragging the past along with them. His son, Jamie, is seeing monsters in the bedroom closet and will not let them go. A tale of existential family horror. So, like, I just sort of get off this little diatribe of Nice House on the Lake, and it's been very up and down for me. And I feel like a lot of the books that Tynan had been writing prior to the Substack move, and maybe how they got taken a back seat, right? And I said, he's still on my Mount Rushmore. He's still one of my favorite writers. Well, this book is a reminder why, right? Because this is, I feel like, Tynan at his best. Like, he understands, he writes characters really well. He writes people really well. He does that. Sean Lewis does that. Chip Zdarsky does that really well, right? And so what we get in this book is, you get a husband and a wife, and they've got a son, and you can tell there's tension there. Like, if you're reading it, it feels like, that's a married couple, right?
Very
like
apparent.
It's very real, right? It feels very real.
Yes, it does.
And then you've got this child that's just sort of like, he's in the background. He takes a back seat to the parents constantly fighting. And I love some of the scenes with the father early on before he comes home, and he does seem like a bit of adult. But the way that Tynan, I'll always say this, it's while I say he understands people and he writes characters really well, his greatest thing is building suspense. The way he builds it, the way he layers it, and the way it all comes together, it's absolutely brilliant. I don't think anyone does it better, to be honest with you. It's just boom, boom, boom. It's paced. It just sort of lulls you in, and then boom, it hits you. And that scene, you get in the way it kind of, Gavin Fulton does a beautiful job with this, where you just kind of go panel, boom. What the fuck?
Yep.
Right?
What the fuck is right?
Oh, and then the way it ends, like, it was a perfect Tynan book. Yeah, and I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, this guy, the character, I think is like an interesting little wrinkle, and I'm curious if Tynan was thinking about this as he was writing, and kind of crafting the story. The character's name is Tom, but when you spell Tom, like, obviously Thomas is Thomas. Of course, you can spell Tomas, without an H in there. Different countries and things like that, different languages. But when you spell Tom, it's Tom. This character is spelled Thom, which I don't know about you, but that aggravates the shit out of me. And look,
like Tom York from Radiohead.
Well, his name. Okay, well, to each their own how they spell their name. But as I'm reading this story, and it's a fictional character where it doesn't really matter, I'm like, as this guy's kind of like coming across as a loser and everything. When I see that, I'm like, yeah, like, I can understand. Yeah, exactly. The shoe absolutely friggin' fits. But you're absolutely right. He is a loser. But relatable at the same time. I think that the way they build up the dynamic, and honestly, like, we're seeing, it's called The Closet, and we don't see anything to do with the closet for a long time in this issue. And it does not matter, because they're building up this very real story, this very real, like, character, family dynamic, and everything. So I thought it was great. A great first issue. So again, another thing that moves it starts off a little slow, but then picks up, moves at a pretty quick pace. Never feel like a lull. It's just that there's, kind of setting the stage and everything like that. But a very, very good first issue for sure.
I like when he gets the advice from the guy at the bar.
Yeah,
and he tries to apply it at home, and he completely fucks it up.
So bad, dude. So bad. I'm like, what? Like, do you have half a brain? Like, and up until that point, I was like, I just feel bad for this character. Like, he just sounds like he just, was made some bad choices.
A bit of adult.
No,
he's a bit of adult.
It's on him. Like, it's 100% on him. It's no bad luck. He's just a moron. But yeah, so The Closet, issue 1 from James Tynan and Gavin Fullerton. Definitely go pick that one up from Image. We move over to Boom. Of course, we got Magic the Gathering issue 15, which I actually fell off on this one a while back, and I may try and hop back in at some point, but just kind of one of those things where it just other things took a priority and everything like that. That's why I haven't talked about it in a while. Then we got Once and Future issue 26, which never going to have an issue with that with Once and Future. But I'll tell you what, man, like, the last image that we get in this it's just like, man, Gillen is like fucking in one right now, and he does not care, and he's just gonna keep like messing with us every step of the way. And there's so much else that happens too, but that last day was just like, oh,
yeah,
so cool,
yeah,
so
yeah.
awesome.
Like that's it. What was it? 15, 16, right around. I was like, okay, this kind of needs to. We're jumping the shark a little bit now. I'm like, yeah, jump all the goddamn sharks. Let's fucking do this. It is fucking killing it.
And I mean, it also helps too when you have Dan Mora as your
Oh,
artist.
I gotta say, this might be one of Dan's best covers.
That's a pretty good call.
I love it because you've got you've Duncan and then the sword, but then like in the reflection of the sword, you've got is it Arthur? Demon Arthur, right? Whoever the character is, that's sort of in the reflection there.
I think that's Galahad. I think that's his brother.
Yes, it's Galahad. Yeah.
Yep.
So like, but just that symmetry and the way it's drawn. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic.
Well, he's one of the best in the biz right now. We've said it before. Like he's one of the absolute like best interior artists right now. And I mean, that's why DC, of course, is doing so much. And I think that when we had that pause in the action with Once in Future, I gotta imagine it's because DC's having him do so much work over there.
Well, he's doing World's Finest.
Yep, I was gonna say he's doing that.
Plus all the cover work he's doing.
And I'm not reading that, but like at the same time, I've thought about it at times because like, well, Dan Mora is drawing it, so
I've heard it's fantastic. I have the first 3 issues upstairs,
so I might give that a look at some point, or maybe you can take a look at it and see if it's TLDR worthy. Lord knows we haven't done a DC book on here in a while, but it's been some really really kick-ass stuff. I love Robin Hood. Like his look is just So I hope we continue to get more of him. But yeah, there's just so much going on right now, and like we got a return of another character last issue, and we see a little bit more of that here, and that's going to be coming up over the next few issues. So there's so much right now with Once in Future that it's hard to imagine this stopping, anytime soon. And I don't
Grand was great this issue.
Yeah.
From Dark Horse, we have Demons issue 3 is now out in paperback, so you can go grab that. Stranger Things Kamchatka. Number 3,
which have you been watching the show? Have you we're
gonna watch tonight. We're gonna watch.
Okay,
tonight.
So
Megan wasn't home. I watched that with Megan. So
we watched I think we watched the first 2, and then we started the third one last night. But we started kind of late, went out, and all this stuff. So like I may or may not have fallen asleep. First 2 episodes were great. Lauren finished the third one by herself. She said it was awesome too. I think she thought it was better than the first 2. But I will say, prepare yourself because there's going to be some things that bother you. But it's really good.
So here's the thing. I very much disliked season 3. For me, it goes,
so much better.
Season 1 for me was an absolute perfect season of television. Like you put that up there with anything. It was a perfect start to finish. Season 2 was okay. I really did not like season 3. So I was not looking forward to this, but now that it's here, I am very excited to watch it. And we'll see. So I'm gonna watch it 100%. So I'll save my opinion.
Similar boat. I felt that season 1 was obviously very good. I couldn't remember. Like it's been so long for me. I couldn't really remember. But I thought that like I knew one of the second and third was fine, and then the other one was like, not it was okay, but it's like definitely a huge drop off from where the first season was. And I felt like after the first episode, like this is the best thing that we've gotten since the first season. Second episode, same thing. And then, I trust Lauren's opinion. Like the third one was even better.
We know she's got a better opinion than you based on the Guardians of the Galaxy rankings.
If you look at my list, okay, which I do actually have the list right here, you can understand how it would have slipped tonight. It's still number 4 in the MCU for me, but I like No Way Home more, and I have the 2 Infinity Gauntlet related movies there, and then I have the Batman, I have Dark Knight, I have I'm going through the whole thing.
Fiance's past you. She's past.
I have Logan. I have Deadpool. I have Into the Spider-Verse. It makes you can like. I understand it was our number 2 movie, but if you look at the other ones I have, if people would be open-minded for once, they could see like how that would slip. As much as I love Guardians, but anyways,
She's past you. That's okay.
Yes, okay. Because you're gonna keep saying the same thing and not listen to what I'm saying because you're a dick, but that's okay. To finish up Dark Horse, we have Avatar: Adapt or Die, issue 2. Then we got Cyberpunk 2077, Blackout issue 1. This is from Bartosz Sizebor, who did some of the Witcher stuff that recently that we liked quite a bit. Roberto Ricci is the artist on this. I haven't read any Cyberpunk stuff. You did talk about Cyberpunk a little while back, I think when Colin was writing it, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So I still got to give that one a look. I think I'd give
Drama
that a look
Center. It was
first.
fantastic. Yeah.
And then we don't got anything from IDW this week. We do from Dynamite have Red Sitha issue 2, which that is Red Sonja's daughter, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, okay.
Quote
Okay.
unquote.
Okay. Because I thought about giving that a look since I haven't read any Red
First
Sonja.
issue was great, yeah, but it's a continuation of,
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Now, do we get clear from Comixology this week? Have you checked your tablet?
I haven't checked yet.
Don't worry about it right now because you got to talk to me about the book that we got from AWA this week.
Yeah, so I'm pumped about this. So we have a number one. It's called New Think number one, written by Greg Hurwitz, who I believe wrote Knighted, and artist Mike Diodato Jr., who I love his stuff. He's he does a lot of stuff for AWA,
I think
whether it's interiors
right now,
or well, no, because we're going to see later on he's doing some art for Marvel.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Good for him.
Because he's done art for Marvel in the past too. So New Think number one, a Black Mirror style anthology, examines the rapid proliferation of technology, the cultural and political polarization of the country, and the technocrats that have driven us to such extremes of thought that we need to present the present as something futuristic. So each of the 5 issues is a standalone tale with its own art team.
Present the present. That was a little. I could see how that would
present the present. Yeah, I had to think about that.
Present the present. Present the what?
So I love the idea of this. So it sounds like it's an anthology. So but it's just kind of like Silver Coin, right? Like book 1 is this writer, this art. Well, I think the artist is the same on all of Silver Coin. So I don't know if Hurwitz is writing the whole thing. Yeah, if Hurwitz is writing the whole thing and it's a new art team on every book, or if it's going to be a new combo each book. But this, I mean, we got a glimpse, AWA likes this sort of stuff, with Not All Robots. It was very, it was very on the nose politically. It just sort of, swapped in robots for, one faction of people in this country. And but like they do a really good job, I think, with this, where it's not like overkill, you know what I mean? And they've got the right group of writers and artists to tell these kind of stories at AWA. So I'm very much looking forward to this.
So when you look, for those who maybe listen to our commentary about Not All Robots, or if you're looking to catch up on, listen back to old shows or anything like that, as you're kind of hopping on board. We were very high on Not All Robots, and then we kind of petered off, and then the ending was good.
It had a pacing problem, I think.
Yes. The social commentary in that series was very well done. I had no issues with that.
The satire was fantastic.
It was really good. And like you said, on the nose, but absolute. The problem, like you said, it was pacing. It was trying to figure out what it was supposed to be, because that was originally we were told that was supposed to be a 5-issue series. And it felt like, as we're reading through like the 3rd and 4th issue, it's like, okay, like, this is supposed to be coming to an end. How was this kind of making, like, where are we going here? And then they spent a lot of time with the family, where it was like, this is like, some of the stuff's okay, but some of the stuff's funny, but a lot of it's like, what are we doing? Where are we going? So, but again, the ending was solid. It was like, I feel like the 3rd and 4th issues were the ones that were like the problems for us. So again, it was like a solid series. I'm excited for the second volume of it. But
no doubt. But when it ended, but it definitely had a pacing problem.
Yeah, but when you talk about New Think, like, we didn't get the review copy for this one, unfortunately, but we'll be talking about it, I'm sure, and catching up in next issue of TLDR. But I'm very excited for this. This sounds awesome. Sounds like something that might piss me off a little bit too, though, because like Black Mirror and like the technology stuff where we see it take over, like that is an easy trigger for me. Because like any fucking time I see the robot places like at MIT or whoever in our friggin' state that you and I live in.
Stop it.
Why?
Stop it. Stop it.
Unbelievable. So, but I'm excited. But like in terms of reading, though, that can be some fun stuff once in a while.
Yeah.
All right, so now we move forward in our solicit. Now that we've done so much for what's new this week, we look to the week of the 8th. Why don't you take us through Marvel?
All right. So for Marvel, the second week of June, we have Thor 26, The Amazing Spider-Man number 3. I won't do it. Venom number 8, Star Wars 24. Marauders number 3, Legion of X number 2, Savage Avengers number 2, And then we have three number ones coming out this week. We have Jane Foster and Mighty Thor, number 1, written by Torren Grönbeck and artist Michael Dowling. We have Fortnite Marvel Zero War, number 1, written by Christos Cage, Donald Mustard, artist Sergio Fernandez de Villa, and this is just a Marvel Fortnite crossover event for which I'm assuming there is probably codes in each comic book that you can download for skins and various things in Fortnite. Batman and Fortnite did that with Batman very successfully, so I could see Marvel wanting to cash in on that. But we have a Star Wars book that seemed interesting, and mostly because of the writer. So we have Star Wars Tales Khurstan, number 1, written by Kieran Gillen, Jason Aaron, and artist Mike Deodato, Mark Lamming, Will Sliney, and Mike Mayhew. He thrilled audiences in the Book of Boba Fett, now experiences stories that made him a legend. The deadly Wookiee bounty hunter called Khurstan, I'm sure I'm doing that correctly, is almost unstoppable, but can you get him on your side for a price? On the desert world of Tatooine, witness Khurstan hunt down Jedi in hiding Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a tale set between Star Wars Episode 3 and 4. Then, as Rebel Alliance clashes with Darth Vader, get ready for the ultimate Wookiee fight. Who will be left standing when Khurstan takes on Chewbacca? Finally, the Khurstans.
Wow, you're doing a pretty good job with this.
From his years in the gladiator pits to an alliance with Dr. Aphra, and to serve up some well-deserving revenge.
Well, okay. Yeah. You have my attention a little bit on this one. I am interested. I might give Jane Foster and Mighty Thor a look at this one. I feel like we're seeing quite a bit from Torren Grönbeck.
You did not put that in the private chat, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to delete it. Yes, I screwed that up. I apologize. But we move forward. I'll see if I can get rid of it at some point. I can't do it on StreamYard. But anyways, but yeah, so this I am interested in this character. I believe Kieran created this character, so that's kind of cool to see him working on that again. Yeah. Working with Star Wars stuff.
And Mike Deodato, right? So we just talked about that.
Right. Then we look at DC. So we got Batman 124, Dark Knights of Steel issue 7, Flashpoint Beyond 2, Batman Killing Time 4, Batman Beyond Neo Year issue 3, Monkey Prince issue 5, Earth Prime 5, and it looks like I don't know what's going on with the Flash here, or is it Earth Prime the Flash? Can you shed a little light on your notes here, Joe, just so I'm clear what's going on? And you're on mute again.
Yeah, I know. I was typing something. No, that's how it's written.
It's Earth Prime number 5. Earth Prime 5 number 5, the Flash. Okay, and that's what is the issue number on that though? That's where I'm confused.
It's Earth Prime number 5.
But what's
the Flash?
Okay,
number 5.
So there should be a colon. 5. There should be a colon. Okay, this sounds like it's off. Anyways,
I'm gonna pull it up right now. It's exactly how it is on League of Comic Geeks.
Okay, you do that. I'm gonna take us through the number 1 issues we got here. We got Nubia, Queen of the Amazons, issue 1. Stephanie Williams and Aletha Martinez. I've been in and out on some of the Amazon stuff. I am interested in Nubia though, so again, I might give it a look, but we'll see. If it hooks me in. Multiversity Team Justice issue 1 by Ivan Cohen and Danny Lore. We also got DC Pride 2022 issue 1. We got a whole cast there. Thank you. That's what I thought. I'm Ron Burgundy, so I need to have it written out exactly for me. Poison Ivy issue 1 from G. Willow Wilson and Marcio Takara, which I might give this a look because I do like Poison Ivy and the Harley Quinn show, although I haven't read that Harley Quinn series yet. I do need to try and give that a look. But there are a couple other first issues that I know you wanted to highlight from DC. You're on mute.
Yes, I know. I was trying to type something, dingus. So Dark Crisis number 1, written by Joshua Williamson, artist by Daniel Semper. Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, and now Dark Crisis. This epic event, years in the making, is finally here. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the rest of the Justice League are dead. The remaining heroes are left to protect the world from an onslaught of violent attacks by DC's greatest villains. Can the legacy heroes step out of the shadows of the classic heroes to form a new Justice League? And will that be enough to stop the darkness greater than anything we've ever faced from destroying everything? I butchered that, but that's okay.
Yeah, get the point. I remember we talked about the Justice League being dead, and did you end up? I know you said you were.
I still haven't read it yet.
I haven't either. Like DC was like when we first started our show, like DC was so high in my books, and they've really they've fallen off in a lot of ways. And I look, there is still a lot of good stuff coming there. We love everything that Tom Taylor's doing. We're excited to see Chip Zdarsky do some more stuff over there, and there are some other cool things. Like I still like what they're doing with Deathstroke for the most part. And that's of course that's Williamson writing that. He's had like a different mix of artists over there, but it's like they're not. They have definitely struggled post death metal. I would say, but there is one other book that you wanted to highlight from them. I think.
Yep. I won't go too deep into this one, but Aquaman Andromeda #1. This one piques my interest because of the creative team behind it: writer Ram V and artist Christian Ward. So this is going to be a Black Label Aquaman book. So I'm very intrigued by this.
Okay. All right. I am interested in that. Because when you're talking Black Label, anything now I don't know how I feel fully about Ram V though. I got to be honest. Like I've read some stuff and I've enjoyed it. And some stuff has been kind of like okay.
He's a very heady writer, and so I think for me his books are you're either all in on the book or it's just not for you, right? He's not someone I think that as because he's relatively new on the scene. He's sort of found his stride where it's like for me, Ram V is if he's writing it, my interest is piqued. I'm going to give it a chance. It's not like, it's James Tynion. I'm getting it. I'm reading it. I know it's going to be
right.
Boom. Right. I think because I loved The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, right? But I think Radio Apocalypse not so much. Right.
Right. Exactly. That was That's
his Swamp Thing he did for Future State was great, but his Swamp Thing that he's been doing was like, eh. So it's like right now, it's like I think it just. I think it depends on the title and what he's doing. It's like, again, you're either all in on the book and it's tremendous, or it's like, it just isn't for me.
The potential's there though for this.
Yeah, 100%.
And I know there are some people out there who like really, really like Ram V too. So that maybe this is where he's always going to kind of be. And maybe just like, he's not someone that kind of hits home for us necessarily, but I'll take us through these next few that we got. So we got Image, we got Spawn 330, Twig issue 2, of course, going through Image with Time Before Time, issue 13, Sweet Paprika, issue 10, That Texas Blood, issue 14, something that I think I'm going to go and try and give a look at some point, because I remember being interested when I first saw it, but never gave it a look. Metal Society.
I think John Lee's talked about it, so it was one of his favorite books.
That sounds right, yeah. Metal Society, issue 2, which is a Top Cow book. We're also getting Cyber Force 30th Anniversary Commemorative Edition, issue 1. This is Eric Silvestri and Chiodo. Of course, this is a brand new book too. This is not at all a thing that's been around for 30 friggin' years. So this is a brand new thing that we've never seen before. But I actually will be giving that a look. I think I did back the Kickstarter, so I forget what one I did, but I should be getting something some point down the line from them if I haven't already. I think I actually did. Anyways, boom, we got Mighty Morphin issue 20, Dune, The Waters of Canley, issue 2, and then the first issue from Boom, we got Orcs, ! The Curse, issue 1, by Christian Larson and Eric Powell. Dark Horse, we got the second issue of Jenny Zero, volume 2, from our guys Dave DeWanch, Brockton McKinney, and of course Magenta King. And then The Ward, issue 1, by Kevin Scott and Andre Ponce. And then why don't you take us through these next few? We got IDW next.
So IDW, we have Last Bot Standing, number 2. And then we have a number 1 from them, TMNT, The Armageddon Game, Opening Moves, number 1, written by longtime TMNT writer Tom Waltz and artist Fernando Paniche. Again, this might be one we want to read because apparently the Rat King is a thing. We just never knew about it. The Rat King is scheming behind the scenes, and it will be up to the Shredder to find out a way to stop the Trickster God and his new trio of Terra Madman Null, Baxter, Stockman, and Leather Krang. Will the former master of the Foot Clan be able to locate the necessary counterpieces to foil the Rat King's latest deadly gambit, or will chaos rule the day at NYC and Mutant Town? One thing's for certain, the answers won't be found only in one dimension. So this has a potential to be real nutty, real weird, but I didn't hear any mention of the Turtles in there. So we're getting a Rat King Shredder book, it sounds like. So maybe I'll read the first issue and see where it goes.
Yeah, I still gotta go. I started reading Shredder. We do get review copies from IDW, but there's been like issues, for whatever reason. And I remember one of them for me was like Shredder in Hell. I was reading that, and then like something happened. Did you never read that, right? Shredder in Hell.
I haven't. I got the issue, but I didn't read it yet.
At some point, I'm going to give that one a look at because I'd like to talk about that one on the show if at some point if I end up liking it. But anyways, what else we got from the week of the 8th?
So from AWA, we have ETER #2, which is sort of a collection of books in one book there. Vault, we have Quests Aside #2. From Aftershock, we have Dogs of London 2, We Live, Age of Paladins #3, The Lion and the Eagle #4, and then a couple of #1s. We have Astronaut Down #1, written by James Patrick, artist Rubine. And we have Where Starships Go to Die #1, written by Mark Sable and artist Alberto Locatelli. I'll tell you what, the covers of both these books look fantastic. Something I'm definitely going to keep my eye on because Aftershock, they've been killing it. They've been killing it. So those definitely look interesting. And then to sort of round out the rest of the week, we have Invincible Red Sonja #9 from Dynamite Comics. We have from Valiant, Archer and Armstrong #2. From Titan, we have Blade Runner Origins #12, which I believe is the conclusion to that. And nothing from Source Point Press or Comixology that.
All right, and then we move into the week of the 15th. And of course, we got 3 more weeks because this is one of those loaded months for us. The week of the 15th, Joe. We got Marvel. Why don't you start us off like you do?
All right, so we have Wolverine 22, Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood #2, X-Men Red #3, and then we have a couple of #1s here. We have Captain America Sentinel of Liberty #1, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, art by Carmen Carnero. We have Hulking and Wiccan #1, written by Josh Trulio and artist Jody Nishijima.
Nice job.
Thank you. And then we have one Nicholas has piqued your interest a bit. Why don't you tell the fine people about the new Fantastic Four?
Yes. So, look, first of all, the Captain America book, I am interested in giving that one a look. Like we're going to get some Falcon and all of this stuff too, I think, as well, looking ahead to like the second issue. But with the new Fantastic Four, so this is new Fantastic Four Marvel Tales #1, but we're supposed to be getting another new Fantastic Four, like the actual first issue later on in the month. This one is written by Walt Simonson, artists Arthur Adams, Gracine Tanaka, and Art Thibert. The Fantastic Four here is Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider, and the Hulk. So, I mean, that sounds like a pretty cool team. So, yeah. I don't think people need to hear much more than that. So, but this was like a thing. This is the creative team that ushered in the world's greatest comics magazine to surprising new heights in Fantastic Four. 347 to 349 back in 1961 when the Fantastic Four fall. The Invisible Woman summons a blockbuster quartet to seek vengeance. So this looks like it's going to be like a flashback to that stuff, and just to get us all prepared for what's coming up later on in the month, because that is a different creative team there. So, I'm very excited to this one. I'm like going to give a look, but I'm more excited about what's later on in the month. Then we look over to DC. We got Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 12 coming out the week of the 15th. The Sandman universe. Nightmare Country issue 3, which Joe was out on because he's afraid, right? Just want that to be on record.
I'm big time pussy for this. I just can't handle it.
Okay. Future State Gotham issue 14, DC Pride, Tim Drake special issue 1 is their only first issue coming out that week, but I imagine it's just a one shot. Written by Megan Fitzmartin and art by Belen Ortega. From Image, why don't you take us through that?
All right, we have we're on the right week here. Hold
King
on. King Spawn. There we go. It's King Spawn 11, Radiant Black 15, Slumber #4, 8 Billion Genies #2.
So good. I called dibs on this, everybody, by the way. Joe has to wait on that.
I'm assuming you meant Farmhand, #18.
Farmham. No, this is like the variant, like Spider-Pig.
Farnham. Yeah. Farmhand.
Farnham. Oh my God, it's so bad. Wow.
And The Town Called Terror #3, which has been excellent. And then Undiscovered Country Destiny Man special #1, written by Scott Snyder, artist by Leonardo Marcello Grassi and Giuseppe Camaculi. And then a couple of other number ones, Nicholas, you'd like to tell the people about.
Yeah, and I've been wondering what's going on with Undiscovered Country because it feels like there's been a serious pause in the action over there.
Big time. Yeah.
So kind of concerned about the state of that book. When we see a little special thing like this coming out, maybe it's more because of scheduling stuff as opposed to the success of the book. So excited to get the special, but I'd like to just get back to the main thing as well. But we got two. So we got one book here that is a creator that's a writer artist, which I always, like, as I've mentioned on the show quite a few times, even today, that I like that a lot. Do a Power Bomb, issue 1, and this seems like something that's going to be up your alley, Joe. Lona Steelrose, who wants to be a pro wrestler, but lives in the shadow of her mother's success before her. We're going to ignore the typo there, but that's okay. That's not my fault. But everything changes when a wrestling obsessed necromancer asks Lona to join the grandest and the most dangerous pro wrestling tournament of all time. So Daniel Warren Johnson, I'm not a wrestling guy, but I will say that John Lees has helped me kind of be more open to reading wrestling comics, of course, and you as well, Joe. So I'm interested in giving this a look. And then we got Seven Sons. This is by Robert Wyndham and Kelvin Mayo. So we got 2 writers on this, and then the artist is Jay Lee. Delph, a young man who may be the second coming of Christ, runs for his life as he attempts to learn the truth behind his existence. Simple synopsis, which we hear us talk about it on Change My Mind quite a bit. You don't tell us a lot in the synopsis. I feel like that's a good sign because you got something good here. You don't need to share so much. I am interested in this one. The cover is quite eerie looking, and I believe Lee is the cover artist as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll let you fill me in on that one.
Okay. Are you going to give the wrestling one a look, though?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Definitely for a first issue, no doubt. From Boom, we have House of Slaughter number 7, Power Rangers. What?
I wasn't ready for a 7th issue of House of Slaughter. I didn't know. I thought it was going to be 6 and done. I thought that's what you were under the impression of.
Yeah, and this should actually be number 8. We got 7 already.
Oh, well. Okay, sure. That's what you think.
House of Slaughter 8, Power Rangers 20, Grimm number 2. I can't wait. That first issue was excellent. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Alice Ever After number 3. See, I gotta wait for this one. I gotta wait for this one.
It'd be nice if we can end up doing those 2 books at the same time on a show. Nice Boom issue, full-fledged issue of TLDR.
And then I'll run through Dark Horse here as well. So we have Tales from Harrow County, Lost Ones number 2, Manor Black, finally, Manor Black, Fire and Blood number 3. It's been a huge pause. It's been a great return to this series. That's written by our guy Colin Bunn. And then Breakout number 3, and then from IDW we have TMNT 130, and then the number 1s, Best of Godzilla, and then Star Trek: The Mirror War, Cisco number 1. And then
can I just say real quick, the Godzilla stuff, I really don't get, but the Star Trek stuff, as much as I am enjoying the Power Rangers Godzilla story that we're getting, but it's definitely a for kids thing. The Star Trek stuff, I would love to know if we have listeners that are Star Trek fans, because IDW keeps doing stuff. You are?
I don't read the comics, but I enjoy the shows very much.
Okay, if you like both, or if you read the comics, let me know, because I'm really curious, because they keep doing stuff. So it must be somewhat successful. I just don't get it. But I'm not a Star Trek.
The Trekkies out there, they're large quantities. There's a huge fan base for Star Trek. Might not be your cup of tea, but it is. I mean, I've never read any of the comics. I'm a big Star Trek: The Next Generation fan. But they've got. I mean, and Picard. It's Patrick Stewart, okay. And Picard's been great. I haven't watched some of the newer Star Trek shows, but I've heard they're really great as well. So just because you don't doesn't mean other people don't enjoy it, Nicholas.
I'll tell you who does enjoy it, and you're gonna appreciate this. Lauren likes Star Trek.
See, I knew I like that girl.
Yeah,
right?
Well, I'm the one that put the ring.
But it's a good thing I was up your ass about it.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah, because I needed Joe to tell me to do that. Yeah.
Well, you kind of did, Nicholas.
Yes. A little side note to encapsulation of our relationship. So today I tell Joe, I want to make sure I read Ghost Rider before we do the show, because I had not read it until the day of for recording this. And he says, I'm going to do that too then. And then he tells me, he writes, read it. Okay, I read it as read Ghost Rider. I had just told him I was going to read the book. I'm assuming you're telling me read it. And I legitimately texted Joe, did you just tell me to read a book that I told
No,
you I'm already going to
I
freaking read?
read Ghost Rider.
Yes, and it was
Read Ghost
actually
Rider.
yes. You were confirming that you have finished Ghost Rider after you told me you were going to read it. But that is why I think that way, because you're telling me what to do sometimes. What? Huh? Like, yeah, I know. Anyways, so this is what the Star Trek brings out the best in us. From AWA, we got Devil's Highway Volume 2, Issue 2. The return to this series was awesome. And the cover for the second issue, which I believe I showed you this, Joe, looks nuts. The Joneses Issue 3. I keep having Issue 2 staring at the top of my pile. Same. I got to give that a look. I did enjoy the first one.
Same.
Vault, you're reading West of Sundown, right?
Yes.
Okay. Issue 3
Tremendous.
comes out the week of the 15th. Yep. Aftershock, we got Bunny Mask, The Hollow Inside, Issue 2. The return to this series was awesome. And speaking of Paul Tobin-related series, A Calculated Man, Issue 1. He's writing this series. And I saw the last name Albuquerque, and I was like, oh, wait, really?
You were thinking Raphael Albuquerque.
Yes, but it's Alberto Jimenez Albuquerque, who I'm not quite as familiar with, but I like Paul Tobin's work, so I'm going to, anything he's doing right now. I didn't love the Monsters Inside one or whatever that was. Like I read the first issue and I have some of the other ones. I didn't. The first one didn't really do much for me, but we'll see about if I go back and look at the rest. But still, Bunny Mask I like so much that I'm gonna keep giving Paul Tobin a chance for a while, even if he disappoints me over a few. But a quick synopsis. I'm just gonna read a couple sentences on the synopsis. A verifiable math genius, Jack Beans, he used to run the numbers for the Pinafore crime family until one day he ran them too well and concluded that the only way out of this life was in a casket or in witness protection. So he turned state's evidence and ran. And this is full of murder, mayhem, and mathematics. So it sounds like it could be kind of goofy, but also kind of like action packed, and it's Aftershock. So it's usually going to have kind of a scary flair, one would assume at least. And then before we move to the week of the 22nd, we have Immortal Red Sonja issue 3. But let us pivot into the 22nd, Joe, and take us through Marvel.
All right. So not a ton of floppies that week. We have Moon Knight number 12, X-Men number 12, Immortal X-Men number 3, and Star Wars Obi-Wan number 2.
Obi-Wan. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Obi-Wan.
Typos galore over here.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens, Nicholas, when you do your work last minute.
I had my whole shit listed before you did, so you can piss off.
I had it all done before you, though.
You had it all done, but I had everything up so you're aware. So
suspect. So we have Miles Morales and Moon Girl number 1, written by Mohel Mashigo and artist IG Guara.
I knew you were going to say IG when I was writing this. Joe's not going to say Ig Guara, but the name is, I think, Ig Guara.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling you were going to do that. But the other ones, there were a couple of big first issues that I did want to highlight.
Yeah, especially the second one you have here. So take it away, Nicholas.
Yeah, I'll let you do that one then, and I'll take this first one real quick. So I mentioned before the new Fantastic Four, issue 1. This is the week that it's supposed to be coming out. Very excited to see Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, and the Hulk. The team on this, the artist is Alan Robinson, not to be confused with I think Bears wide receiver, and then writer is Peter Davidson, not to be confused with that dude from SNL, who I feel like half the DSG hates, if I'm not mistaken. At least the Kanye love inside. I like him, not because
butthole eyes.
Well, yeah, but he's also like pissing Kanye off, so I kind of enjoy that. But either way, I'm interested in this just because of the Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Hulk involvement. I don't really need to hear much more than that. I will report back on this when that week comes. But there was the Punisher War Journal Blitz that I'm very interested in as well. Seems like a little sidestep from the Punisher stuff. That's from Torrin Grobeck and Land Medina. But did you take a look at the synopsis on this one?
I did when I was looking at the art earlier, when I did the art for Instagram, because I used all these covers, right?
Yeah.
For this. So, I mean, loving Punisher. So this is definitely one that I want to check out for sure.
Yeah, this looks really cool. And I did mention Torrin Grobeck earlier, and we may be saying the name wrong because it's Grunbeck has like the O slash through the middle or something like that. So I don't know how that.
It's not
like,
Numlot, whatever it is though.
I don't know what that accent means. Like I know the ones that are Portuguese, Spanish for obvious reasons, but like when it comes to I don't know if that's German or Russian or what. But anyways, we move to DC. We get Nightwing 93. Of course, been loving what Tom Taylor's doing. Batman, Superman, World's Finest, issue 4, which you were mentioned earlier. Of course, Dan Moore is the artist on that. Batman, The Knight, issue 6. Fables 152, which you're giving Fables a little bit of a look because our buddy Rich Keefe from #Dork loves that one. Then we got Dark Crisis, Young Justice, issue 1 by Megan Fitzmartin and Laura Braga. We have Aquaman and The Flash, Void Song, issue 1 by Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, and Vasco Georgiev, which I'm pretty sure Vasco Georgiev is the one who did all the different like DC Marvel mashups that we saw over the years. If like when the pandemic hit, kind of we saw a bunch of that stuff. I think he did a lot of those art matchups. Milestone in History, issue 1, which is a list of creators on that one, not just 2. We got Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen's boss, Perry White, issue 1, and I see that and think, probably not going to pick this one up. But then Matt Fraction is writing it. So I was like, maybe give it a look. I don't know. Steve Lieber is the artist on that. But the big one for me this week, Joe, is Black Adam issue 1. Not because I'm like crazy about Black Adam. I mean, Shazam's, it was a good movie and everything, as much as you didn't include it in your top 50 list because
it was a mistake.
You're a dink. But
that was on purpose.
Yep, of course. Just like, by the way, so did you listen to PCP when Rossi? Did. Okay, he still wouldn't have had that in like his top 10. I don't think by the end of that conversation.
No. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
I like so many other people said, I respect it more if he just had it off the list. Like I didn't like. There was plenty of movies I didn't watch that I didn't put on the list. I didn't put the Joker on there. I didn't have the Harley Quinn or the first Suicide Squad movie on there. I didn't, didn't have the Eternals on there because I still haven't seen it. Like I didn't see them. I can't rank them. Didn't see them.
Half of those movies you mentioned there are movies that nobody had on their list because they don't belong on there.
Right, right. But you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't see it. Like that was my philosophy. I didn't see it. And so like he came out and he said, "Well, I just hadn't seen it, or you'd only seen a couple bits of it." So I was like, "All right, well then just don't put it on then." That would have like see it and then kind of sleep through it and then like and put it 37th. Just at that point, keep it off your list. Yeah. He's like, I think his rationale was, well, I put it on there because I felt like it had to be on there. Yeah. Well, no, you don't like it. You don't like it. Keep it off. I think people would have given you a lot less shit and you just not put it on there.
Maybe, but it's Rossi and he's an easy target. I do hear what you're saying, but I'm like, once I hear, it wasn't on your list. Okay, fine. You'd seen it like bits and pieces, so you knew which deserved to be on there. That like, it doesn't bother me as much. What bothers me more is like, he watched it in its entirety and then still says like, this isn't like definitively a top 5 comic book movie of all time because you had it as your number 1. Scheim had it as his number 1. And I had it as my 3rd. But if you take out Endgame and Infinity War, which personally I think what they did kind of transcends like cinema in itself. But if you take those out, it would be my number 1 because as a movie, it by itself in a vacuum, like without dealing with all these other things that Marvel and the MCU has done, like this movie was as good as it gets from a comic book movie.
The way I look at it, and I look at Winter Soldier the same way, but way more so with Logan, is that yes, it's a comic book movie, but it's so much more, right? Just like as it is a fantastic story movie. Everything about it is almost flawless, right? When I think of Endgame and Infinity War, those movies are tremendous, right? But they are 100% are a comic book movie, right? If you didn't know, like Wolverine, like you could have, if you didn't know that, they were comic book characters and they just like made this movie, it still would have been a really fucking awesome movie. Like
that's fair. It's a fair point.
Endgame and Infinity War, yeah, they move the needle like no other, but they are at their heart, at their essence, a comic book movie. Everything
but this
about
is a comic book movie list. Like now you're starting to delve into a territory. It's like, but this is a comic book movie list. So like, what are you talking about?
Well, because I think what Logan does, it transcends the comic book genre. It's more than that. It's a Western. It's so much about it is it's so well done on every level, right? Whereas like Infinity War, like those are like, I don't know. I can
get
separate,
your point.
I'm not articulating it properly.
No. You made a pretty fair point. Like I mean, like you've made it pretty clear. I just disagree with you because like this is a comic book movies list. Like, but again, we can also
understand. That's why I had it as my number one because like it does more, or it does do more. But like for me, I could view it as something also greater than a comic book movie, while it is still a comic book movie.
Yeah, but I think to go and use a comic book movie thing is like a detract, like being a.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's a detractor. I'm just saying like that's why I enjoyed it more because I could enjoy it on this level, this level, this level, this level. Like it transcends to me. It transcends what a comic movie is, and it's just an all around fantastic movie.
And Shazam didn't do that in your mind, and that's why I thought.
No, Shazam should have been on my list. I just forgot to put it down. It's as simple as that.
That brings us. Speaking of Shazam, and to bring us back, to
I pulled the Davy, but I only did that once instead of like 14.
You did a great job. You had a great list. I think there were only like I think everyone makes their own list, and it's fine. This stuff is fun. Not to get too like nice about this,
but me one list.
But yeah, you. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Cool. Anyways,
you should have made a fifth list and handed it to him that day. That
would have been a fourth if I did that. To be clear, and you're right, I should have. It was a great call. I think
we're off the rails.
Yes, Rich did tell everybody I made a fourth list just for dramatic effect. But I was mentioning about Black Adam, and that's somehow how we got off the rails. Issue 1, and look, I'm not like Black Adam's cool. I'm excited for the movie. I don't know how the expectations aren't necessarily through the roof or anything like that because it's still DC. Who knows how they do with this? But when I see Christopher Priest attached to a project, and I haven't seen him on a comic in a while, I talked about his run on Deathstroke a while back, and that was from the DC Rebirth era. And oh man, that shit was great. Some awesome stuff. He's on this project. I'm definitely giving this a look, and like he's going to have a leash because Christopher Priest is a writer who I don't talk about enough on this show, but I love what he does. We got Rafa Sandoval as an artist who I'm not as familiar with, but Christopher Priest is enough for me to say like, okay, I'm going to give this a look. So hopefully this is the start of seeing him doing more and more. Unless he's been doing stuff with super small indies that I just don't know about. But we cover that pretty well, so I don't think that's the case. Maybe he's doing pro work or whatever. But anyways, I'll take us through Image real quick. We got Nocterra 11 coming out the week of the 22nd. Gunslinger, Spawn issue 9. The Silver Coin issue 11, which the second trade is out for that, by the way. Radiant Red 4 by friend of the show, Cherish Chen. Rogue Sun by friend of the show, Ryan Parrott. Issue 5 of that is out. Of course, didn't mention Snyder, of course, it's up for a friend of the show as well. Friend of the show, Chip Zdarsky. Newburn, issue 8. Bloodstained Teeth. Didn't at all make a typo when I was writing one of those down.
I could see what button the asterisk was.
That's exactly what I did. Bloodstained Teeth, issue 3. I hate this place. It feels very appropriate right now. Homesick Pilots 15, and then Stillwater 14. But I'm starting to question
13.
No, you mentioned 13 before, right? I think I'm
yes, 14. Yeah.
Listening might be off on this one. Then we got Beware the Eye of Odin issue 1, which is written by Doug Wagner, who I believe was one of the creators on Vinyl, which we talked about with Sean Lewis.
Yeah.
And then the artist is Tom Odland. And then we also get this thing from Crossover 1 3D. This is by, of course, Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw. But it looks like we're getting like a reprint of the first issue, but in 3D. And then we're also getting a new story where Donny Cates wrote it, but then his wife, Megan Hutchinson Cates, is the artist on that. So I feel like if you like Crossover, it's something that's going to be a must read. Sounds like
and I'll take the 3D glasses for that. That looks fun.
Yeah.
From Boom, we have Something is Killing the Children, number 24, The Vampire Slayer, number 3, and The Killer Affairs of the State, number 5. And from Dark Horse, we have 2 number 1s. We have Hellboy and the Bprd, Old Man Whittier, number 1, written, of course, by Mike Mignola and artist by Gabriel Hernando Walta. And then we have the Lonesome Hunters #1, written and art by Tyler Crook.
Yeah, and I am interested in this one. Big month for Hellboy fans, and I've been so bad about keeping up with Hellboy because I think there's a list of reasons for me on that one. But Tyler
There's a lot
Crook,
of it.
yeah, there is a lot of it. But there was also a time where like I was reading it and was reading anything that was coming out, but then it stopped. So I kind of got thrown off in the course of all that. But for the Lonesome Hunters, again, writer artist, I'm going to be interested in giving that a look. And
Tyler Crook's the artist on Harrow County.
Oh, there you go. So an old and out of practice monster hunter in hiding is hiding cross is in an old out of practice monster hunter in hiding crosses paths with a young girl that forces him to confront these chaotic creatures. As the beasts invade their tenement, they set off a supernatural road trip to stop these ancient evils in a story that explores the ways that youth informs adulthood and how early traumas can haunt us in an old age. So synopsis, okay, but I'm interested because we got like one person who's working on this book as a writer artist, so I want to give that a look. To finish off this week, we got from IDW Usagi Yojimbo, of course, one of your favorite titles, the Lone Goat Kid. Lone Goat and Kid, not the Lone Goat Kid. Okay,
Lone Goat and Kid. Yes.
Okay, issue 6. Of course, we have Violet's favorite series, and of course, Jeffrey McNamara's favorite series, My Little Pony issue 2, AWA Primos issue 4, Vault mentioned it earlier, Radio Apocalypse issue 4, Dynamite. We got Red Sonja issue 10, and then we also got. I hinted at this a little bit earlier. We got Samurai Sonja issue 1. This is written by Jordan Clark and Pasquale Qualano, and this so this is a new like Sonja that we're
so that's what piques me. Samurai Sonja, yeah, I could be down with that, so I might check that one out.
Might give that one a look. And then from Ablaze, we got Life 05. I haven't talked about this one in a while on the show. I just hadn't been seeing it on the shelves and found out like, no, it's still been coming out. I just figured there was like a printing issue, but I will be trying to catch up on that one down the line. But we got to get to the 29th as we go into possibly our longest show ever.
Yeah. So the week of June 29th from Marvel, we have Sabretooth #4. I feel like this one hasn't come out in a while. And then we have Wolverine Patch #3. And then we have a slew of #1s, which I'll just sort of rattle off here. We have Iron Man Hellcat Annual #1. The Variants #1, written by Gail Simon, art by Phil Noto. Iron Cat #1, written by Jed McKay, artist by Per Perez. Thor Lightning and Lament #1, written by Ralph Macchio and Todd Knock. Is that the Karate Kid?
I don't know. The picture didn't look like him, so I'm assuming no. But who knows? But
if it is, I might give it a go.
But Knock's a really good artist, so I mean,
no doubt.
So I might give that one a look.
And then lastly, Mech Strike Monster Hunters #1, written by Christos Gage and art by Paco Diaz. And then Nicholas from DC. What do we got?
Just a lot of random #1s, by the way. We got a Hellcat and a black cat. Like a lot of like, is it Cat Month? Anyways, DC, we got Detective Comics 10. Detective Comics 1061, Robin 15, Batman Catwoman, the final issue, Joe, of your favorite series, #12. The Joker, also the final issue, right? 15.
Can I say something about this too? There's been a fucking Christmas theme throughout this entire fucking series, right?
No.
Right?
Really?
And it started in a December, possibly, right? But now we're in June, and it's just finishing up. If you're gonna give me a fucking Christmas theme in 12 issues, make it go from December to December, for fuck's sake.
That's not,
What the fuck are we doing here? For Jesus.
Excuse me. Batman Beyond the White Knight issue 4. Batman 89, which this one's a 6-issue thing. This is the final issue, and we're only getting the final issue now. This started last summer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this was waiting for the trade on that one for show.
Deathstroke Inc. issue 10. And then for first issues, this is just a one shot out of the DC versus Vampires universe. But DC versus Vampires Killers #1. Rosenberg is writing this. Mike Bowden. We got a cool Harley Quinn cover, and it looks like she's going to be the focus of this. So I am interested in this. Reading anything DC versus Vampires right now. What do we got from Image?
We have Saga issue 60, Department of Truth issue 19, The Scorched #7, A Righteous Thirst of Vengeance #9, Philadelphia 23, and then we have Sins of the Black Flamingo #1, written by Andrew Wheeler, art by Travis Moore. But But the big number one this week from Image is public domain number one, written and drawn by friend of the show, Chip Zdarsky. This is something that he has been doing on his Substack, which Nicholas has very kindly given me access to. And so it'll be coming out now in floppy form, which is great. So the masses can read this. So Sid Dallas is responsible for pop culture's greatest hero, the domain, but his sons Miles and David have a complicated relationship with both the creation and the creator. Can they convince their dad to fight for the family's legacy? So this is Zdarsky. It's wild. It's fun stuff. So definitely can't wait.
My favorite thing about all this, I'm excited to read this, but my favorite thing about all this is you look at the solicit. The final line is, "Hi, it's me, Chip. I'm writing the solicitation."
Yeah, which is classic Chip.
Yeah, very much in on this. And then that's it for Image for the at the end of the month. From Boom, we got Berserker number 9, the final issue. More importantly, of 7 Secrets, issue 18.
Not ready for it.
The final week of June, we got Power Rangers Unlimited Countdown to Ruin, issue 1. That is by L.L. McKinney and Anna Kakovsky, Chandra. And then we got another Buffy thing. Looks like they're doing more and more over there with Boom.
I'm out on Buffy. I'm out on the Buffy stuff.
I don't know if I'm gonna give this a look, but I did want to highlight it. Buffy 97 issue 1. This is by Max Bemis and Mariana Ignazi. I still haven't looked at the Vampire Slayer yet, so I don't know.
I heard it was terrible, and then the last Slayer really was a letdown for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty fair. It seemed like cool, and then just didn't really turn into a whole heck of a lot. Let's see. We got a lot of number ones coming up. I'll fly us through some of these. We got Hellboy in the Bprd, both in 1957. One of them is
Dark Horse, by the way.
Yes, from Dark Horse. One is From Below, issue 1. One is Falling Sky, issue 1. Mignola and Roberson are the writers on both of them. Mike Norton is doing From Below, and Sean Martinborough is doing Falling Sky. Then from IDW, we have Godzilla Rivals versus Gigan, issue 1 by Keith Davidson and Yasmin Flores Montanez. And then Dungeons and Dragons, Ravenloft, Orphan of Agony Isle, issue 1 by Aaron Harvey and Corin Howell. Kanto, Tales of the Unnamed World, issue 1, which I didn't write down. What's the matter?
I can't keep up. The Kanto's got so many goddamn series now. I can't keep up with it.
I have no clue. I don't even know who the writer and artist on that one. The only one that I look at and it's like, oh, this could be interesting. Transformers, Fate of Cybertron, issue 1 by Brian Ruckley and David Garcia Cruz. But even then, we're not reading Transformers. I wanted to read Beast Wars, but just didn't make the time for it. Then we got Hit Me, issue 4, which has been awesome. From AWA. Dynamite has the Invincible Red Sonja, issue 10. And then from Vault, we have Fox and the Hare, issue 2. Did you read the first issue of this yet?
I have it downloaded, I believe, but I haven't read it yet.
I got to give this one a look. And then we get The Return of Barbaric, The Harvest of Blades, issue 1. And this is by Michael Morisi. And then the art team is Richard Pace and Nathan Gooden. They're both the artists on this. Enjoyed the first 3 issues. I know people kind of raved about this series. I thought it was good. I could talk about it on here, but it was so short that I think I'd rather see a little bit more to have a little bit more to add on. And then we got Mindset, issue 1 by Zach Kaplan, John Pearson, which to me, I think it was the editor-in-chief of Vault, very high on this. So I'm gonna give this one a look for sure. But pretty solid week from Vault. And that, I think, wraps up our longest solicit to date.
Just as long as Jock Peterson is involved, you want to get hit in the face.
That's Tommy Pham who threw the smack. Whose side are you on in that? Whose side are you on in that? Because I'm on Jock Peterson's side in that one.
Yeah, I've got no idea. I only know I haven't fully. I just know that there's a beef over fantasy football. One guy hit the other guy.
As someone who's been on the wrong end of a slap bet 2 or 3 times, it's kind of fuzzy now at this point. I can definitely empathize with anybody getting smacked in the face for losing anything. So I stand with you in solidarity, Jock. But anyways, that is going to wrap up the June 2022 TLDR solicit. Keep your peepers popped because we have stuff in the works. Hopefully some of everything comes to fruition next week, but you'll all know when we do what's new next week. But until then, Joe, stay sexy.
You know it.